Free energy will reduce the cost of everything. Free energy already exists. It has for almost a century. Everything has already been invented, just not implemented and actively suppressed. You could read about it in 1984, published in 1948 by George Orwell in the section entitled The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism. You could read about it in The Grunch of Giants by Buckminster Fuller, published in 1983, where Fuller says he himself worked on projects that could enable everyone on Earth, not just Americans, to live like billionaires, but a very small percentage of people want to keep this forbidden knowledge secret. Recently, Jeremy Rifkin gave a Google talk where he talks about near zero marginal cost and the economic implication of what free energy will mean to our lives as far as the lower costs of building and construction, production of goods, distribution of goods, and transportation, etc. For 100 years, people have been needlessly starving to death, slaving at jobs, missing time with their family, friends, and loved ones, working the 40-hour work week, the 40-year career, while having all of their money that they traded their time for eaten up with taxes, inflation, bills, debt, interest payments, food, etc., so they have nothing really to retire with. Meanwhile, those that they worked for are part of the breakaway civilization. Don't take my word for it. Take the words of Stephen Greer of the Disclosure Project and the Orion Project, Catherine Austin Fitts of Solari, Jim Mars, Richard Dolan and the Breakaway Civilization, Buckminster Fuller, George Orwell, Nikola Tesla. I want the term artificial scarcity on everyone's tongue. This affects everybody. Artificial scarcity is limiting your experience on Earth. Start talking about artificial scarcity and let's get the Napster for everything going. Even if you're making money off of this paradigm of information suppression, think about how much more awesome it will be when you have absolutely everything. All right, enough of my thoughts. Let me let the professionals take over.
I want to first give you sort of the big picture. And the big picture is that we haven't needed fossil fuels since about 100 years ago.
You and I, and I'm sure most everybody listening, knows that we have the off-the-shelf technology available to us today to feed, clothe, and give basic medical attention to every living soul on this planet.
We're all very conscious of the fact that there's an official reality and then there's a reality, and the two are not the same. What is that reality outside of the official reality, and how do we build a common understanding of it?
The modern term is the zero-point energy field. J.P. Morgan said, if we can't put a meter on it, we don't want it.
You know, the great model of all economics is nowhere nearly enough to go around. This is completely ignorant of what you can do with modern technology. But we have the option now to make it, to take care of all humanity, the highest standard anybody's ever known.
It's because there are a lot of stakeholders who don't want to have to deal with the change.
We have the technology available to give everyone on Earth the highest standard of living in history.
This is all wonderful, and I know that those technologies do exist in classified programs. It's too big of a change for me to have to deal with. I just want to see that everything stays in a sort of a homeostasis. We don't rock the boat too much, and I retire from this command and get to go fishing at my place in Montana. This is a great thing, but it's too big of a change. It's too big of a challenge. And therefore, if it's that big of a challenge, it's better just to kick the can down the road and let someone else deal with it later. And disruptive technology writ large in this, how I'm speaking of it, is something that would have a multi-$100 trillion impact. Not billion, trillion. So let me repeat that, multi-$100 trillion impact. Because once this is disclosed, and this backs into why, quote, UFOs are secret and forbidden to talk about in polite circles, is that a UFO is really just a misnomer for an alternative energy and propulsion device. But if you said those were real, people would say, oh, how are they moving like that? Any physicist at MIT would ask this question if they thought it was real and hadn't been brainwashed by the psychological warfare disinformation campaign launched by the CIA in 1953. So that's the problem, is that if you begin to talk about the phenomena of new energy, free energy, anti-gravity, UFOs, you're stepping into an area that is the most sensitive, compartmented intelligence in the history of the United States.